Hey everybody, how's it going? All right, let's get this thing presented. Let's get this show on the road. Loading. Okay, welcome to lesson 2, reproduction in prokaryotes versus eukaryotes. All right, let's stop for a second before I even move on. Quick review. What's a prokaryote? What's a eukaryote? It's just a way of saying organisms that have a nucleus, eukaryotes, and organisms that don't have a nucleus, prokaryotes. Uh, If you got a nucleus, you carry it. That's how I remember it. They also have membrane-bound organelles like chloroplasts, mitochondria, various things like that. Prokaryotes versus eukaryotes. But we're just going to talk about reproduction, not their organelles. Explain the difference between the life cycles of eukaryotic and prokaryotic microorganisms in terms of cell division. Now that's my objective today. That's the thing I want you to learn about. A little bit confusing. I get it. I get it. This curriculum objective. Let me break it down for you. Really, what's this all about? We're basically saying, how do organisms reproduce? Reproduction. That's really what we're getting at. And reproduction creates the next generation. It can be sexual. It takes two. There was a song, "It takes two to make a thing go right." The next lyric was, "It takes two to make it out of sight." Now, I'm not going to comment on any of these things. It's not my time nor my place, nor particularly appropriate for me to do so. But I will say this. It takes two for sexual reproduction. And that's kind of what they were getting at in the song. But that's all I'm going to say. Okay. It could also be asexual reproduction, which requires only one person. And if you're thinking something inappropriate right now, stop. Asexual reproduction is one organism splitting into two organisms. So this, in a nutshell, is this. So what's the difference? Well, prokaryotes. Now, most reproduction for prokaryotes, those are the things, they're little bacteria. They don't have a nucleus. They don't have membrane-bound organelles. They're tiny. These things, and they're always single-celled. Like, they never grow into multi-cell creatures. Like, you wouldn't see a bacteria that was like the size of me. They're single-celled organisms. Most reproduction is asexual. That means without a partner. This process is known as binary fission. And it's something like mitosis in eukaryotic organisms, but since there's no nucleus dividing, we don't call it mitosis, because technically mitosis is actually the division of the nucleus. Cytokinesis, which happens right after, is the division of the rest of the cell. So imagine you're a bacteria and you want to reproduce. So how do you do it? You go like, you think really hard and until you split in two. I know I'm making like a poo face here, and that's not what I mean. You wouldn't like poop out another you. You would literally divide in half. Like you would split into two identical organisms. And that's how you reproduce if you are a prokaryote. So when times are right and you're ready to go, you just divide in two. And I guess you're gone. Like, that's a really good question. Like, when you are a prokaryote, who's your daddy? Who's your mommy? Technically, it's you, because you divided into two things. And then those two things divided into four things, and so on and so forth. I'm getting a little philosophical here. Why don't I just move on to eukaryotes? What do they have? A nucleus. If you got a nucleus, you carry it. You carry it. That's my pun to remember which one has a nucleus. These are bigger. They're more advanced organisms. We're eukaryotes, people. But pretty much any animal you see, especially if it's got multiple cells, is a eukaryote. Now, they want to reproduce. Their reproduction is sexual. Okay, and it begins with a process known as meiosis that produces gametes, that's sperm and eggs, which have only half the chromosomes you need for life. So what you gonna do? You're gonna take that thing that has half the chromosomes you need for life, maybe a sperm. You're gonna combine it with, I don't know, maybe an egg that has the other half of the chromosomes you need for life. Sweet thing about the egg, it has all the mitochondria and other things that you need to live as well in there. The egg and the sperm fuse together, and you've now got one genetically different offspring with a full set of chromosomes needed for life. Okay, so that's the difference. So it's kind of like a step. Think about it this way. Okay, this is sexual reproduction in a nutshell. Step 1, make a sperm or egg, meiosis. Step 2, get the sperm to the egg. That's what scientists call sex. well, sexual reproduction, was actually insemination. Combine the sperm and the egg. That's fertilization. That's when the sperm actually penetrates the egg. And when I say combine, I really mean combine the DNA of the sperm and the egg. That's step 3. Then step 4, you grow until you're mature enough to produce your own sperm and egg. And how do you grow? You grow through mitosis. So you just divide and more cells, which are genetically identical. And then when you've got this big multi-celled organism and you are ready to make sperm and eggs, what do? Step 5, you go back to step 1, you make sperm and eggs, and you start the whole process all over again. And that is what Elton John referred to in The Lion King as the circle of life. And I'm going to leave it at that. Have a wonderful day. Peace out.